Hey, what's up YouTube? My name is Chad Esley, and today we're going to get started drawing freestyle, just using any software you've got. I'm going to be using Clip Studio Paint on my Wacom 24-inch Cintiq Pro, and you can follow along on paper, or you can just watch, and I'll just talk a little bit about my process as far as my approach to cartooning and kind of where I learned to draw, basically. So let's get started. Okay, I've got Clip Paint Studio open, and I've got a 10-inch by 10-inch 300 dpi square document in front of me, and that is a higher resolution than your standard 72 dpi, which is what a lot of default art programs will start you at. You want to work in a slightly higher resolution because if for any reason you like these drawings that we're going to do, you can then print them out and they will have some clarity to them. It's a mistake a lot of people new to digital art make, is not setting your print document size. So it might, if you have an Android tablet or an iPad, you might struggle a little bit with a higher resolution. Certainly modern devices won't have a problem with that, so there won't be any worries there. So I'm going to put on my glasses because I can't see and just chat a little bit while I cartoon. And I practice often a method of cartooning called direct cartooning, which means no construction lines behind anything and just drawing whatever comes freely right out of my head, which is kind of how I learned to draw when I was a kid. I didn't have access to a lot of art supplies. I'd often just have a felt tip pen or a ballpoint pen or just a pencil and a whole stack of paper, and I would just see what I could draw based on that. So with that, I'm going to choose a brush. I'm just going to go with the G pen, and I usually make a few lines and zoom in a bit on my drawing just to kind of see the quality of the line I'm going to get and see how it works with pressure on and off, or light and with a lot of heavy pressure. I'll usually start off drawing something simple like a sphere and just shade it just to kind of get into the mood of drawing. And it doesn't have to be a perfect sphere. The ground can be all lumpy. And I'll just zoom in and crosshatch just a few lines. That brush is a little bit large because I'm getting kind of a blunt end on the end of it there. And you can certainly adjust your pressure settings in whatever program you're using. And this is okay to me. I'm gonna try this. It's called a turnip pen. No. I'm gonna try a textured pen. Yeah, G pen. The G pen has a little bit of a textured line to it. Maybe that's kind of interesting. And I'm going to just clear the screen and start with a cartoon. So yeah, what I was saying was when I grew up in a kind of small town, there was really only one bookstore that had any kind of alternative anything in it. And I was just fascinated by kind of counterculture because I grew up in such a conservative place. Art teachers told me that I just couldn't learn animation because no one there knew it, and it just wasn't something they taught. Cartooning was not discouraged, but no one really did it, and I was just obsessed with it. I loved Mad Magazine. Whenever I could, I would ask my parents to buy it, and I really enjoyed the cartoons of Sergio Aragonés. If you don't know him, he's one of the longest living Mad Magazine cartoonists out there. Rest in peace, Mad Magazine. I keep getting a flyer in the mail saying resubscribe, and I won't resubscribe because they basically, someone bought and killed the magazine, and they're rerunning old content, and they're not supporting cartoonists. They are not making any new content. I think they said once a year, and it's just not worth my dollar, folks. It's very sad because I really always wanted to get into Mad Magazine. But anyway, this bookstore where I grew up, they had a collection of underground comics from the 1960s, Zap Comics and Robert Crumb, and I was probably about 14 years old, and I begged this store owner, which I think was against the law to show these to technically a minor. I begged him to see these comics, and he finally relented, and I didn't get to buy them, but I got to leaf through them at the store, and I was able to see a lot of inking styles and things that just aren't common in your standard Marvel comics. And I don't know why, but I was never a superhero comics guy. I remember liking Doctor Strange and the Fantastic Four and some Spider-Man and your standard stuff, but I really never grew up on superhero comics, and they just didn't like. I guess I didn't need a hero in my life or something. There's probably deep psychological reasons behind all of that, but I just didn't like superhero comics. And what I did like was really interesting tales. I loved the idea of autobiographical comics, which I've tried to do. Very difficult. And I loved the just the variety of styles that were out there that were not Marvel. So that's sort of the world I grew up in. And what I would do to learn to draw was I would grab any comics that seemed to have nice line artwork, even Jim Davis of Garfield. I loved Garfield back when I was a little kid, and I would try to copy Garfield. I would hunt for articles on, it would just be gold if I could find an article mentioning how Jim Davis, I'm just going to write his name for fun, how Jim Davis drew Garfield. I would, if they mentioned the type of pen he used, a dip style pen, I would hunt down that dip style pen and try making lines on paper with it all day long just to try to get the same qualities that he got when he was drawing maybe Garfield's, those little stripes on the side of his head. I would sit all day and try to make those little, I can't draw Garfield worth a darn, but remember he had sort of, I keep bumping my mic, sorry. He had these little, he had these things. He had the little the kitty stripes on the side of his head. And I can't draw Garfield, folks. I can make my version of what I remember. But yeah, I would try to like, oh yeah, and he used this much pressure, he used that pen. And I think at one point when I was a kid, I won some kind of school poster contest drawing Garfield. And that really got me going in the world of art. I thought, oh, this is fantastic. People care about cartooning, they care about drawing. But yeah, if you are the type of person who's a little bit nervous about drawing, if you are a doodler and you think, I can't draw, well, I could never draw like a human hand to save my life. What I would do is avoid the rules. I would avoid the rules. Cartoonists often do this anyway, but anatomy, out the window. Perspective, out the window. Worry about that later. I sort of put a great emphasis on just having fun with what I was doing and get the details of it later. It sort of all fell together later. But for hands, if you can't draw a hand, look at your hand and study it. Look at other people's hand, take photographic reference, and sit it in front of you and try to draw a hand. Try to draw an apple. Try to draw a book. Start with simple things. Hand is pretty complex, but for the longest time I thought I can't draw hands. I would draw my characters with their hands behind their back. I would draw characters, I would do anything to avoid drawing a hand. But then one day I sort of sat myself down and thought, well, it can't be that difficult. I would look at hands in Yogi Bear cartoons and hands done in, animation and professional comics that were put out there and say, hey, they're kind of winging it too. I can wing it as well. And so I developed my own goofy, hand style for comics, and it sort of came about through drawing a basic shape like so, and a couple of sticks off to the side, and there's your hand, and constructing around that a little circle here, a circle there, a circle there, a circle there, and some little sausage shapes, Bugs Bunny kind of cartoons, and sausage shapes, and a little connection between the two, and you're there. And then sort of my, there are only three there, but sort of my way of personally drawing hands sort of branched out from there. I'm not saying mine is the right way, but if you have difficulty with it, just be very goofy, especially if you're interested in being a cartoonist who does anything with humor. No limits, no rules, rubber hands, just go for it. And what you draw, it will become your own personal visual language. So for me, I end up, going with these very balloony shapes for my hands. And I would just practice drawing expressive hands, male or female. Let me see if I can do another one here. As soon as I think too hard about it, I'll start to freeze up and do terrible drawings, so I apologize. sort of the nature of the beast with drawing. And there's another hand there. You can draw, nails on them if that helps delineate things, like so. That is a really ugly hand with a vein on the back of it, and spots and hairs sticking out of it. Just being goofy and having fun. But that's about it for this. What I would do, I think maybe I'll give out a lesson for you guys if you want. For the week, I might not do another video I might not do one of these for another week rather, but for the week, if you keep a sketchbook, if you keep an 8.5 by 11 legal pad, if you keep any kind of paper with you, it can be a piece of paper you cram into your back pocket, and a crayon, I don't care. But for the week, what I'd want you to do is take a pencil, take a ballpoint pen, and sit down and draw for 10 minutes a day. And that can be anything. Choose a subject. Your subject can be an animal. It could be dogs. It could be cats. It could be cubes. Pick a subject and draw it 10 minutes a day. And let's just say faces, funny cartoon faces. You can start out with a round shape, a square shape, and a triangular shape, and try and map a face into those shapes. What would happen if the eyes on a triangle were at the very bottom of that triangle? You might have a different idea for a character versus smile there, hair on top, versus the eyes placed in the center of the character or off to the side. So take a day and do some shape faces and report back in the comments below. Link to your work, I'll check it out. And definitely send me a message and an email if you enjoy what you're seeing. Again, this is going to be a pretty diverse channel. I'm going to not only focus on doodles and drawing, but I'm doing a little virtual reality sculpting, a little 3D printing, a little retro pixel art, and stuff of that nature. So that's about it. Subscribe for more, and we will keep on keeping on and drawing. Guys, if you like, you can check out my work, instagram.com/cartoonmonkeystudio, where I post some animation, which I'll be doing some animation lessons as well down the line. But I post a lot of animation. I try to do a daily drawing as my own practice and put it up there. Not always safe for work. Kind of depends. I try to keep it pretty clean. That's about it. Thanks a lot. Bye.